in the Psalms, Part 1. Then I looked, and behold, a Lamb is standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads. Beyond its function as a hymnal to be used in public and private worship, the Book of Psalms is an eminent prophetic book written by prophets. The New Testament authors used it as a prophetic text to show that Yeshua was the Messiah. But Psalms are not limited to prophesying about Yeshua's earthly ministry, but are rich in various themes related to the history of redemption. Psalm 122, the Heavenly Sanctuary. Psalm 15 and 24, the Holy Mountain. Psalm 119, the name of Elohim. Psalm 5, the Redeemed. Psalm 51, the proclamation of the Gospel. The Celestial Sanctuary. I rejoice with those who said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. By studying the details of Israel's sanctuary and temple, we see how Elohim related to his people and how he taught the plan of redemption. By moving the ark, David centralized divine worship in Jerusalem. That was where the house of Elohim was located. Psalm 122 prophetically points to the gathering of the redeemed into the new Jerusalem to worship at the real heavenly sanctuary. Revelation offers several visions of his heavenly sanctuary, from which the courtyard, which represents the earth, is excluded. The lampstand, golden altar, the ark. Examining Psalm 122, we can also appreciate other themes closely linked to the message of revelation, praise, judgment, peace, security. Messiah, our great high priest, is a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Lord preached and not men. The prophet was permitted to behold the first apartment of the sanctuary in heaven, and he saw there the 7 lamps of fire, the golden altar, represented by the golden candlestick, and the altar of incense in the sanctuary on earth. Here he beheld the ark of his testament, represented by the sacred chest constructed by Moses, to contain the law of Elohim. Moses made the earthly sanctuary according to the fashion that he had seen. Paul declares that the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry, when completed, were the patterns of things in the heavens. And John says that he saw the sanctuary in heaven. That sanctuary in which Yeshua ministers in our behalf is the great original, of which the sanctuary built by Moses was a copy. The Holy Mountain. Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent, who may live on your holy mountain. Mount Zion occupied part of the city of Jerusalem, and by extension was used to name the hill where the temple was built, originally called Mount Moriah. It is also called the Holy Mountain, as it is a symbol of Elohim's throne. In prophetic writings, it is used to define the place where the redeemed will gather, who will be able to stand on Mount Zion with Yeshua. Psalms 15 and 24 define the characteristics of those who are worthy to be there. He who walks uprightly does righteousness and does not lie. He who does not slander does no harm to his neighbor, nor does he allow evil to be spoken of. He who honors those who fear Elohim and does not change, even if it is detrimental. He who does not love money nor can be bribed. He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who is neither proud nor a liar. It's clear that none of us on our own meet all these requirements. Therefore, we can only be there by the grace and power of Yeshua. Praise be to him. The vision of the prophet pictures them as standing on Mount Zion, geared for holy service, clothed in white linen, which is the righteousness of the saints. But all who follow the Lamb in heaven must first have followed him on earth, not fretfully or capriciously, but in trustful, loving, willing obedience, as the flock follows the shepherd. The name of Elohim. In the night, Lord, I remember your name, that I may keep your law. Mount Zion is also closely linked to the name of Elohim. The name, especially in biblical times, was associated with the person's character. Therefore, the name of Elohim inscribed on the forehead of the redeemed goes beyond the 4 Hebrew letters that define it. Yod Hey Wow Hey. God's name is His unique and unrepeatable character, I am, YM. His name is His character, is His glory and His goodness. When the psalmist evoked the name of Elohim, meditated on His character, he was overcome with the desire to keep Elohim's law. Why? Because Elohim's law is a transcript of His character. Elohim's name will be inscribed on the foreheads of those who love Elohim and desire to obey His law. The glory of Messiah is His character, and His character is an expression of the law of Elohim. He fulfilled the law in its every specification, and gave to the world in His life a perfect pattern of what it is impossible for humanity to attain unto by cooperation with divinity. In His humanity, Messiah was dependent upon the Father, even as humanity is now dependent upon Elohim for divine power in attaining unto perfection of character. The redeemed. Psalm 5 draws a sharp contrast between those who accept Elohim and those who reject Him. This psalm anticipates the definition of the two groups facing each other in the end time, those who receive the name of Elohim or the names of the beasts. The name of the beasts. They shall not dwell with Elohim. They worship the beasts. They are liars. They will be punished. They blaspheme against Elohim. The name of Elohim. They will dwell with Elohim. They worship Elohim. They do not lie. They will be redeemed. They proclaim salvation with joy. Difficulties will arise that will try your faith and patience. Face them bravely. Look on the bright side. Heaven is full of joy. It resounds with the praises of Him who made so wonderful a sacrifice for the redemption of the human race. Should not the church on earth be full of praise? Should not Christians publish throughout the world the joy of serving Messiah? If you make a mistake, turn your defeat into victory. The lessons that Elohim sends will always, if well learned, bring help in due time. Put your trust in Elohim. Pray much and believe. Trusting, hoping, believing, holding fast the hand of infinite power. You will be more than conquerors. The proclamation of the gospel. And I will teach transgressors your ways, so that sinners will turn back to you. We cannot deceive ourselves. We are all sinners. As sinners, we are not worthy to proclaim the gospel of salvation. That was the sentiment of Isaiah and of King David. But there is good news. Our experience can be the same as that of these two prophets. Both were forgiven of their sin, and both began proclaiming Elohim's message to the world. Of the threefold message proclaimed to the world in the last generation, the last two are a call to abandon sin. Therefore, it is essential that before pointing out sin, a solution be proclaimed through the first message, the everlasting gospel. Opo. Opo. Yun. Naku po. Yes. The prophecies in the 18th of Revelation will soon be fulfilled. During the proclamation of the third angel's message, another angel is to come down from heaven. having great power, and the earth is to be lightened with his glory. The Spirit of the Lord will so graciously bless consecrated human instrumentalities that men, women, and children will open their lips in praise and thanksgiving, filling the earth with the knowledge of Elohim and with his unsurpassed glory, as the waters cover the sea. The central theme of the Bible, the theme about which every other in the whole book clusters, is the redemption plan, the restoration in the human soul of the image of Elohim. From the first intimation of hope in the sentence pronounced in Eden to that last glorious promise of the revelation, they shall see his face and his name shall be in their foreheads. The burden of every book and every passage of the Bible is the unfolding of this wondrous theme, means uplifting the power of Elohim, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Yeshua Messiah.